The latest news and the week's top stories here on RT. Re-elected FIFA President Sepp Blatter strikes back at a Western push to kick him out of office over a corruption scandal. The rival militia government in Libya warns it will hit back if EU forces launch an operation on its territory to shut down the routes used to traffic migrants to Europe. Also this week, 5 civilians are killed by shelling in eastern Ukraine, including an 11-year-old girl. RT has exclusive video from the scene of the attack. Hello, it's midday in Moscow. You're watching RT International. The football world was shaken this week when FIFA became the target of an American-led corruption probe. Now, it came just days ahead of Sepp Blatter's re-election as the organisation's president. European officials pounced on the case and called for Blatter to resign. But the defiant head of world football kicked back at what he called a shocking hate campaign.
Nobody will convince me that it was mere coincidence. That attack from the Americans 2 days before the FIFA elections. And then the reaction of UEFA, of Mr. Platini. So nobody will convince me, I'm not certain. But at the end of the day, it doesn't smell good.
Well, the case polarised the world ahead of the FIFA presidency vote. Some Western officials, the media and even corporations rose up against Blatter. Harry Fear looks into the corruption scandal, which turned into a political controversy.
This Department of Justice is determined to end these practices, to root out corruption and to bring wrongdoers to justice.
We will not stop until we send messages that this is not the way things should be.
And their actions matched their words. An early morning Swiss police raid saw FIFA figures arrested, foreign nationals detained at the behest of the US. And the pressure of an international corruption scandal mounted on FIFA. No efforts were spared to pin the heat to its incumbent president, Sepp Blatter, less than 48 hours before a vote on his re-election.
U.S. soccer will vote for Prince Ali bin Al Hussein for next president of FIFA.
American conglomerates like Adidas, Coca-Cola and Visa threatened to withdraw financial sponsorships, and the US clearly called in all its European political and sports allies.
He should go. You cannot have accusations of corruption at this level.
That's a shame, Mr. President. I think it would have been great for you and for your image if you'd understood the situation and resigned.
Unsurprisingly, the US's fawning media outlets backed the sole preferred opponent, a Jordanian prince.
Blatter is going to try to manage his team, and he has some strong players.
Blatter was told to his face that he must go.
Calling for Sepp Blatter to resign.
Blatter may be defiant, but he stands ridiculed.
Fair questions raised then as to why the sport and its world governing body was suddenly so key to the national interest of the US, where football isn't even known as football, but soccer.
The United States isn't really a soccer-playing country. I mean, they probably would say they are, but most of us Europeans, we see them as playing American football, completely different sport, really.
Unwittingly, the US and its allies have turned Sepp Blatter into a symbol of resistance to the untrammeled power of the West.
Russian President Vladimir Putin also questioned Washington's interference in the affairs of the international organization.
Considering the arrests, it looks, to put it mildly, strange. The arrests were made at the demand of the US on corruption charges. Who were arrested? International officials. It can be assumed that some of them could have violated something, I don't know. But for certain, it's nothing to do with America. Those officials are not US citizens. And if something happened, it was not on American
votes. Nobody was speaking about corruption. The same people who's here, the same list, what they are speaking about, they are the same member during that election. The same names, not a big change. 70% of those names was there when the state has been elected against Morocco. But we didn't hear this story.
Well, during the vote, Blatter's rival for the presidency was supported by delegates from Europe and the Americas, while the long-running FIFA chief enjoyed the firm backing of Africa, Asia, Russia and Oceania. Some observers say the world football body has weathered a political storm.
I think that FIFA was quite resilient and certainly showed a degree of resolve in the face of tremendous pressure. The fact that they were attempting to essentially carry out, if I could use the term, regime change within the FIFA leadership, and the fact that FIFA did not cave into that, I think it demonstrates quite a lot.
Blatter won because the overwhelming majority of people in the world, particularly those in Asia and Africa, rejected a typical U.S. effort to play world policeman. Go into Switzerland and extend its jurisdiction in an extraterritorial fashion in order to detain and arrest, then extradite and stand trial many leaders of FIFA. I think FIFA rejected this aggression on the part of the United States.
Elsewhere, the rival militia government in Libya claims it will fight back if EU forces step on its soil to tackle people traffickers. Libya Dawn is not officially recognised by the international community, but it does control large parts of the country, including the capital, Tripoli.
Bombing boats will not help. If Europe comes to our water and land without permission, we will defend ourselves.
Well, now Europe plans to battle ever-increasing immigration by targeting human traffickers' boats and bases, both by sea and air. And the question remains whether there will be EU boots on Libyan soil. There's also been a leaked paper from the EU's military committee saying the operation could damage its reputation due to possible casualties. But the Islamist-backed rival government in Libya warns that the use of force won't help and will only lead to irreversible changes on the European continent. The situation has spiralled out of control since the NATO-backed toppling of Colonel Gaddafi 4 years ago. And now Libya carries another burden. It's the key start point for refugees fleeing to Europe in the hope of a better life. Last year alone, about 170,000 people crossed the Mediterranean after passing through the country. That influx carries a heavy financial burden for Europe. There are also concerns terrorists could be posing as refugees. And it's feared migrants could turn to crime to avoid poverty. And there's the challenge of integrating them into European society. But many experts agree that Europe's policies are to blame.
The European Union and the United States deliberately destroyed Libya. They knew what they were doing. They knew that this was going to engender an enormous humanitarian catastrophe. So it's not as if they didn't see this. They want chaos. The aim of European policy in Africa is destruction, militarization, military occupation.
What should be done is that those countries who create war situations by attacking other countries should be made responsible for taking the displaced persons.
There needs to be a reconstruction program. There needs to be money pumped into the countries that have been so devastated by Western intervention over the last 14 or 15 years. And that would do something to kind of make life possible.
Still to come, austerity anger in the UK.